Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. So it's my great pleasure today to introduce this new webinar on how to accelerate your AI project with efficient data labeling process. So first, I would like to introduce the speaker. So I am Mathieu Schremdorfer. So I'm the head of the Atos Swiss Analytics and AI practice. And as well on the call, we will have Dr. Gloria Capano, who is our text analytics expert, and Dr. Evgeny Ponomarev, who is our expert in computer vision. So you might, it's now time to check with you why you are here. And really, we want to use your time well. So this webinar is for you if you want to accelerate your AI projects in production. You have a lot of unlabeled data. All types, text, image, video. Your labels are of low quality and you want to scale your operation. And you find that scaling, annotation, and labeling is quite inefficient and costly. And you want to do that with quality insurance to ensure good quality data for your labeling process and your ML projects. So this is why you are here. Today, it's an introductory webinar on all labeling topics and best practices. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover first why enterprise struggle with data labeling. Then we will discuss the best practices in our experience to increase labeling productivity. We'll share with you some use case and demo, and then summarize that into key takeaways, and we will keep 15 minutes at least for the Q&As. So first, I would like to introduce why enterprise struggle with data labeling. So if we take a step back, we are really in front of a tsunami of unstructured data coming your way. And more and more companies realize that at CIO, CTO level, head of analytics level, that the success of AI project is going to be driven largely by unstructured data. By unstructured data, we mean text, video, mail, emails, WhatsApp, Facebook, all those kind of images, all those kinds of data, which today are still a minority, but tomorrow, in the next 5 years, will represent 80% of the data available to enterprise. And why it is important? It's because accessing this data generates significant savings opportunity and also enables businesses to create new businesses and generate additional net income. Okay, so why data labeling? So on the left, you can see all of these unstructured data types. And in order to make it valuable for different use cases within the enterprise, you need to add what we call metadata to it. And this is basically the ground truth that you can use to train machine learning model to and to create the possibility for various use cases. So for instance, on the right, you can see that with this metadata, now your unstructured data is available in your cognitive search. Atos is one of the leading cognitive search provider in the world with Cinequa. You can implement RPA processes, so leveraging this unstructured data, this in particular text analytics for orders and so on. And then you can also start very exciting artificial intelligence projects. So let's go to this. So if you think of artificial intelligence project, you're all familiar, I assume, with the different stage of a project, and data labeling is consuming now a significant time. If you look at the three things on the left, collect raw data, data labeling, and data pre-processing, overall, it takes about 80% of the time of a data science team. And when you deal with unstructured data, you need to spend 30% of your time on average on this. Not only that, but if you move to the right and you look at after you've deployed your model, the continuous improvement, often it is not thought upfront, but in order to maintain your model over time and to avoid model drift, you need to update this model with new data, and this new data will need to be labeled as well. So data labeling is definitely a key challenge on the way of making successful AI projects. So why organizations struggle with data labeling? If we look at it, there are three domains that are challenging: data, models, and operations. On the data side, data quality is really key. Only with high data quality and high quality of tags, of metadata, you can create that ground truth I was telling you about. But also the scaling of the annotation process is quite challenging because often it's very manual, it's time consuming, and you don't have the bandwidth with your subject matter expert to do this themselves. So you need to find ways to address this with partners. In addition, on the middle side, of course, companies use pre-trained model, but they have their own technology limitation. And if they are not trained on your data, the result will not be to what you want. And in addition, you need very specific ML expertise in computer vision or text analytics, NLP, in order to create very efficient model. Finally, the data and model confidentiality is key, and we will talk about it later. On the operation side, several things. First, we notice in our experience, companies are not very experienced with annotation strategy, annotation techniques, and we will share some insights about this. In addition, they don't have the perfect setup for organization from an organization standpoint. Often data science teams are very geared towards exploring data, but not to operationalize this result in production. And this is really important to ensure continuous improvement. Okay, so now I would like to switch to the second part of our talk, which is what are those best practices to increase labeling productivity? So first, in our experience, there are 3 key ingredients that enable data science team to bring AI project faster in production. And what drives this data labeling productivity is a combination of an annotation platform, which you see on the left, a scalable labeling process, and then the ability to automate the AI labeling at scale. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the annotation platform, and I will go through the questions one by one. Next, please. So the first question we recommend our customers to ask themselves is to take a step back and try to understand their use case complexity and their company maturity in AI. So to make it simple, if you look on this chart, at the bottom you have use case complexity and enterprise maturity. If you have a relatively low use case complexity, whether text or computer vision projects, and you're starting in AI, then clearly, I mean, we recommend you use some open source solutions that are suitable for small data science projects, so in particular proof of concepts. Now, if you progress in your use case complexity and you increase in your enterprise maturity with AI, then many companies use labeling as a service from Google, Apple, Azure, and this is great, especially for beginning. The 2 challenges you might have here is that first, you're not owning the machine learning model. So this is something that you might want to think about in terms of your strategy. Do you want to own the model? And second, you have to expose your data to a third party, which can cause challenges if based on the confidentiality and security requirements of your data. Then again, if you move to the right, what we identified is a number of solution providers or let's say platform providers in particular that have packaged vertical specialized solution. So here you get to a next level in terms of use case complexity and enterprise maturity. You can cover data confidentiality, you have collaboration management, you have a much better control on the technological stack, but you address specific use case, which could be, for instance, text or computer vision related or specific to an industry vertical. So this is suitable for a POC, for an MVP, but it's not yet what we call an enterprise solution for all of your use cases. And then we have what we call the 4th category, so which you can use from initial proof of concept to MVP to production, which are those horizontal solutions. So there you also cover data confidentiality, collaboration management, you completely control your technology stack, you can cover both use cases in text and text analytics and computer vision. And in addition, those providers bring to you as well annotation management partner, ML automation, and scalability enterprise-ready solution. So Atos data labeling is clearly in this category, but we will now go into the features that you need for your annotation platform. So what annotation feature do I need? So the first thing is, do you need just text, images, video, and audio, or maybe you might need a mix of those in the future? And this is important to know because as we train ML model, we realize the quality of this model increase when you can mix the asset types, not just video, image, but also image and text and so on. The second thing is, so this is not just for one use case, but for the scope of your use case that you should think about that. Then you need to select a platform which has a powerful UI with multiple annotation tools. So there are different ways to select, and we're not going to go into detail now, but you will see it in what we mean in the demo that we will do later. Thirdly, you want to have what we call ML-assisted data pre-annotation. So that's a bare minimum that you can accelerate the training of the annotation of your data with what we call human in the loop. So the human are doing the work, but then we can use a pre-trained model, pre-annotate the data, annotate, and then pre-annotate again and create a virtuous cycle. Fourthly, you want to have a platform that have a flexible deployment scheme. Often we see our customers start with a SaaS solution as a service, or what we call data on-premise, which is basically the ability to do SaaS, but the data is only available within the confine of your VPN. And then they move to on-premise with maybe a private cloud or their on-premise installation for to control their SLAs and have a very scalable solution and secure solution on their premise. Finally, you want to be able to integrate this platform with customizable APIs so that you can automate throughout with your pipeline, machine learning pipeline. Okay. A third very important question regarding the annotation platform is to determine what are your QA requirements and your scalability requirements. And clearly, I mean, the annotation platform ideally should be able to manage multiple projects in parallel. You want to manage collaboration with all kinds of roles, admin, reviewer, labelers, with single sign-on, and you want to manage the quality with key performance indicator. And there are 4 of them. Gold standard, it's basically you have one source of truth and you measure against your annotators against this gold standard asset. Consensus is when you have many annotators, you want to be able to measure the agreement between the annotators on the same asset. Sample review, so we have, the platform should enable you to do reviews with your SMEs of random annotation work performed by the annotator, so you can check the quality. And then, as an example for computer vision, you can use intersection over union to compare what has been drawn manually and the prediction from your machine learning model. So those are examples of QA requirements that you need to have in. Okay. So I'm going to hand over now to my computer vision expert, Evgeny, who is going to talk about the best practice for labeling process.
Okay, thank you, Mathieu. And well, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, and yes, I will start right away from the labeling process component of our successful data labeling solution. And those are the questions which one has to propose to itself at this stage, which I'm going to address one by one in the following. Next, please. So, first of all, what's the best setup for annotation solution? In this case, there are 2 extremities. And well, in the one corner, there are small dedicated annotation teams, which are easy to manage and also to control, to do quality assurance. And well, it's also easy to define certain KPIs and monitor rules the quality of their work. While in another corner, there are large teams, typically obtained through crowdsourcing platforms or freelance platforms. While in this case, they are relatively less motivated and they have limited knowledge because they don't leverage completely the internal SMEs of the client. And yeah, well, clearly they're less preferred. So yeah, we suggest to go for the first option, which is the best case scenario. So a small dedicated team. Yeah. So next, please. So another question is whether you have enough expertise to execute annotation project with multiple annotators. So at this stage, we suggest to be as much critical as you can towards yourself, because from our own experience, to address the labeling projects successfully, you really need to follow a specialized methodology. So, and this methodology resides on the following approach. So, well, it resides on annotation strategy and annotation plan, which is elaborated and verified together with the customer. And in the next stage, after agreeing annotation strategy and annotation plan with the customer, you can elaborate a annotation guidebook. So it's basically a very detailed manual with explicit description for annotators, how to perform their job and respect all the quality KPIs. So with this annotation guidebook, a labeler with annotation guidebook in hand, a labeler should have no questions at all and should perform its job very well, supposedly. Yes, so that's a very high level of a methodological approach that we suggest you follow. Next, please. And then you ask yourself a question: when are you supposed to upscale your team with external annotation? So, well, the quite obvious option is that when you basically need a vast annotation effort. So, for instance, when you are launching a new product or you are launching a new service. Or you might need to outsource the data labeling, where you have a multiple use case within your company. So you have a large enterprise, which requires different use cases to be addressed with labeling. So for instance, can be text, images, or video annotation combined together. And also at this stage, well, an important thing to bear in mind is, well, basically economics, because in some cases you can gain almost up to one order of magnitude of savings by outsourcing the labeling job to external partner. And well, here's just an example below. And also at this stage, what you need to consider is which specific skill a labeler needs to have, and what's your data confidentiality level. So these 2 points bring us to labeling options, outsourcing labeling options. And here, as I mentioned, yes, we need to think of skill proficiency, whether this, whether the internal subject matter experts had the possibility to do a knowledge transfer and to frame, as I mentioned, this annotation guidebook in such a way that it will be explicit and obvious for external labelers to do their job. And it is based on the required skills that the labeler should possess. And well, it can be either a trainable skill or a domain expertise, like for instance, for medical doctor, whether it should be ophthalmologist, oncologist, and so on. Or it can be also a language prerequisite. So for instance, if you need to do some NLP related task and you need to label you need certain proficiency in certain languages. That also goes together with data security level. So at this level, so there's a spectrum which can range from standard offshoring, and it can go up to on-site labeling, which is the most secure option, where basically like annotators have to go to a secure room and do their labeling there. So let's talking about outsourcing options. I think we can go next. And the next is the third pillar of a successful labeling solution is AI labeling automation. And what you need to understand at this stage is whether you have enough competence to create and train a machine learning model yourself, and how you're gonna maintain these models in production. So from our own experience, what we suggest, we would propose for training ML models for AI automation, we would propose the following practices. So, well, the first one is so-called active learning. So in this case, you prioritize which asset you will label first, and which turn to be quite efficient, because if you need to label, so you need to point out some critical assets that you need to label first. And like this, the performance of your model can increase significantly, like initial performance of your model. As another one is online learning, is when you use initially built a machine learning model, which is trained on some small part of already labeled data. And you can leverage this model for data pre-annotation, which increases significantly the efficiency of manual data labeling. So just to name other couple, so it's weekly supervised learning, which I won't go into much to details, but it's also an option, which is it's also a viable option. And as well as at this stage, you also need to think of your nicely oiled and pre-configured pipelines, which enable to hook up your solution to a GPU server's way, basically to the hardware, which enables the training. And next, please. Yes, and talking about maintaining a model in production, I would just first quickly recap what happens at the training phase of machine learning model for annotation. So first, you have unlabeled data arriving, and afterwards you can leverage the options that I mentioned. So for instance, like active learning or online learning to do data pre-annotation. And then this, so next in the pipeline is manual data labeling. So it's basically labelers doing their manual annotation. And on top of that, there's quality control and KPI monitoring done through the methodology that we presented. And as an outcome, we have already correctly and properly labeled dataset, which already at this stage can be pushed to a business. And also at this stage, we can create, train and optimize machine learning model for further automation. So, and as an outcome of the training phase, we have a properly labeled dataset and performing machine learning models. So, like this in production phase, with the new unlabeled data arriving, we can automatically generate the predictions. We can automatically label the data. And based on some internal logic, we can judge whether the prediction is of high confidence. If it is the case, we use directly this data, we push directly this data to the business. While if it's a low confidence, we reiterate the training phase and relabel the data of low confidence. So, and the idea here is that we do it in iterative fashion. And monitor the model performance throughout production, so it does not drop below a certain predefined threshold, which allows us to avoid so-called model drift, which ensures that we do this automation in high quality fashion, let's say. Right. And to wrap up all these 3 points, all these 3 pillars, we would like to come up with this proposition and how to frame your data labeling project. And we propose to split into 3 phases. So the first one is so-called proof of value, which can last from 3 to 5 weeks, and by the end of which you already have some working automation and some piece of label data. While at MVP stage, minimal viable product, which can last from 10 to 15 weeks, you address the use case at full complexity, and you basically deliver the product by the end of this stage. While in production, you, as I said, you ensure the performance of your model doesn't drop below a certain threshold, and you maintain your model accordingly. So that's basically, in a nutshell, our suggested approach. And I will hand in back, I think it's Gloria now, right?
Yeah, thank you, Eugenie. It's Gloria here, and in the next session, I will guide you along 2 use cases and a little demos of how to perform data labeling. So the 2 use cases that I will show you are one on computer vision and one in text analytics. So let's start with a use case in computer vision. In that case, the problem that we want to solve was to help a certification company to detect rust in ships. So rust in ships can create serious problems to ships. So usually a manual inspection is performed on ships to detect in which region rust is present and the associated risk. As you can imagine, this manual inspection is quite costly. So we helped this company by automatizing this process by first annotating 40,000 images from previous inspections of rusts. And at the very beginning, 600 internal labels have been used. and a machine learning model have been created out of these 40,000 images. After that, new images were injected to the model. We used drone for that for a total of 500,000 of images per year. So the benefits that we reach is that we have 80% of accuracy of loss detection. And so that is associated with our reduced cost, manual cost for performing this detection manually. And that allows to localize the structural risk, so to focus the energies on those that are more risky, and that produces an overall 50% more of productivity. So the second use case is about text analytics. In that case is a use case in which we wanted to help a manufacturing company to manage better orders. So they are managing different documents, so they can be orders, change an existing order, cancel an order. And what they wanted to do was to accelerate this process because they receive about 1 million documents per year. So to have, so you can imagine that a lot of people were involved to do this work manually. In addition, to make everything more complicated, there were 12 different languages, and a huge part of these documents were emails with attachments. So a kind of complicated, unstructured data. And for them, we have trained, we have created machine learning models so that they were able to distinguish on the first level if this document was an order or a cancellation order, and then models that were able to extract information from the same orders. So the overall classification accuracy of these models were 98%, and that allowed to reduce the workload by 20%, and the company were able to reallocate a part of this workforce to other tasks. So now I will show you a demo for a computer vision case and a text analytics case. And we have, I have to, sorry, we have this presentation on YouTube, but you will have the link so you can check later on. So the first demo that I will show you is an example in which we want to help an insurance company, a car insurance company. So they have images on cars, they want to identify in the image where the damage is present, so in which part of the car is the damage, which kind of damage, and the seriousness of the damage. So let's see how we can set up a project. So what you see is the platform, our partner platform, Kili technology that we use for this demo. So the first thing that we do is to set up the project. So we give a name and we say what we would like to do. We would like to work with images. And we will ask different tasks. First of all, a classification task. If there is a car in the image, so it's a relevant image. The second thing that we want is to detect by drawing inside the image what are the body parts of this car, because then we want to distinguish where are the damages. Third, we would like to distinguish where are the damages and which kind. So we want to select a list of possible problems, and for each of these problems, we create an additional internal classification that is the seriousness of this damage. We can say that it's mild or a very serious damage. So we can choose all the levels. Everything is customizable in the setting part, and the admin of the project has complete control. That can be also modified in a second moment. Everything can be, and everything is managed by JSON files. After the project, the setting has been created, we can assign to the project the labelers. We have also another role that is the reviewer, the person who will check the work of the labelers, the quality. So we can assign one labeler, different labelers, and leave to them some instructions. As you have seen before, the idea is to leave a complete and explicit guidebook. And then you can, once you have assigned the labelers and the guidebooks, it's time to upload the data that you can do it by using the UI or an API. And how does it work? So now we are in the shoes of a labelers. Here we have a car image. It's a relevant image, so we see yes. And then we want to start to draw with polygons all the areas, and we say which part of the car is. In that case, we don't have damage. So we only complete it with just the body parts. But here it's an example of some scratches on a door. So we can draw the door, and we can also draw for each single scratch the position, and we can assign a level of seriousness for each of these scratches. So we know that our scratches on the door, the left back door of this car. And this process continues, so the labelers can continue to do it and label all the work. What do we do next? We can collect this data, and a data scientist, in this case a computer vision expert, will train a model on his favorite platform. In this case, it's Google Colab, but you can use whatever you would like. And this model will be trained on those data that you have seen. Of course, for this complex example, we will need more than a single model, but a series of models. And then we will use this model for uploading the new data, for labeling automatically the new car images that we will have. And we can visualize in the platform if the machine has indeed done a good job. So here we see that it's good. It has recognized a bump in the yellow and some body parts. And we can check the quality. If we don't like it, we can modify it and change it again. So now I will show you a similar demo, but for text analytics. So it's very similar. In this case, the problem is that in Atos, we have a lot of articles, and we would like to classify and create some metadata for making the search of these articles internally much, much faster. And in that case, we have collected our data, and we want to select some tasks. So here we have a classification task. So we want that each document belongs to a particular class. We have cybersecurity, digital transformation, IoT. And also we want to extract some particular metadata within the text. So to extract specific knowledge in the text. And as we had done before, we have created a project, we have created the settings, assigned the labelers, and now we will show you how the labeler will work in text documents. So it's very similar to the image. We have the different task on the right, and the labeler can assign a class, and here highlights those parts of text that belong to specific metadata. In this case, we want revenues, dates, companies. You can customize that as your wish. And then with this model, we can train on a model. With this data, sorry, you can train a machine learning model and re-upload the data has been labeled by the model and visualized inside the platform. So here we can see what the machine learning has done, and we can check that everything is fine. And in case, we can correct it if needed. With that, I'm done with the demo, and I will handle back to Mathieu.
Thank you very much, Gloria. So now we are going to look at the key takeaways from this. So of course, the demo we showed you were very simple, but we hope it showed a bit, the capability of an easy platform, easy interface. So in terms of summary, what are the key takeaways? Firstly, unstructured data is key to your future business, and you need to have quality label data in order to use the data meaningfully to create new business case and to increase your ROI. The second point is that enterprise really struggle with data labeling, and behind the scene, behind the issue with data, with model, and with operation, it is often not just a lack of expertise, but also a lack of well-defined process and standardization in terms of how to move from a small proof of concept to an MVP to full production, but also how to scale up, labelers with your SMEs and how to collaborate with the platform. So this is really the source of the struggle. The third point is, and we of course have presented you some of the best practice there. And the third point is around how can you further improve the labeling productivity to bring your AI project faster in production. We think there are at least 3 points. One is to use a powerful, easy-to-use labeling platform that can follow along your journey from proof of concept to MVP to production and scale with your enterprise need. Second, you need to be able to tap into a scalable labeling workforce and also leverage, we recommend a partner for methodology, annotation methodology to make sure that you have the right quality outputs. And finally, there are a number of labeling automation techniques that are out there that can be used. And what we observe is that often in our projects, we are involved on this labeling, let's say, tasks, and then the data science team of the customer is collaborating with us and taking this to the next level to realize, let's say, the insight on behalf of the customer. So they don't always need to have the experts in computer vision or text analytics on labeling, but rather, on some downstream activities that add value to the business. Okay, so how can, Atos, of course, is there to support you on this journey. And what we have is we offer you an end-to-end enterprise solution for data labeling. So if you look on the left, if you don't know where to start, we can help you with your labeling strategy, and we can help you select the right approach, tooling, annotation partner for your use case and company maturity. And we are, quite agnostic there as an integration, service integration vendor. Then if you can't label efficiently, we can also offer a user-friendly annotation platform, and we have a strategic partnership with Kili Technology, a startup in France, which has a very powerful platform, and we are very well trained on this platform, as well as we can rely on professional outsource partners with managed label workforce. And we can ensure you with the full compliance, GDPR and so on. Thirdly, if you need to accelerate your model training, we can provide you with computer vision and text analytics experts. We have pre-trained models that we can reuse to accelerate your proof of value. We like to do proof of value rather than POC because we can deliver value to you from the start. And then we have specialized pipeline and GPU servers to accelerate that training. And finally, we know that you want to scale your project into production, and that's really something where we can shine. We have, of course, nearshore and offshore team that can accompany you in your global projects to bring your AI projects at scale and integrate this platform and this methodology and this approach into your infrastructure and organization and operation. Okay, we have more than 20 projects delivered in text, image, audio, and video using this partnership, so Kili technology, and this covers both SaaS, data on-premise, and on-premise solution. We have used with our clients different scenarios with internal and external labelers, and we have per client between 100K and 5 million labels per year. So our clients are really growing with this. Thank you. So now it's time for Q&A, and we're a bit in advance, so we can take more questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mathieu, Gloria, and Evgeny. Yes, we have got 2 questions up to now here in our chat box. So if you have more questions, take your time and ask your questions in the chat box. In the meantime, the first question we have got was, based on your experience, have you quantified the business benefits of data labeling with your clients?
Yes, and this is, thank you for this question. I think actually you can go into the appendix because we have, this is a question that comes very often, and we have supported slides for that. So if you go on slide, I think, yes, 36. So the short answer is it depends, but over the course of more than 20 projects, we have identified the following elements. First, we recommend you start with a business productivity improvement project. These are the easiest to calculate the ROI, and this is probably where 80% of your your benefit will come from initially. So, for instance, this could be accelerating, let's say a back office process. This could be reducing defects. This could be and so on. So if you start from the left, you have the current picture where you're not using those unstructured data and this methodology to improve your productivity. Then you move to pre-trained model. You can improve a bit. But really, you get much bigger improvements when you start training custom model in the middle with annotators. And then as you move into production, MVP stage and production, you can continuously improve your model, and you get to up to 80% productivity improvement. Now, what we realize is, of course, this is an average across many use cases, but very often companies want to keep human in the loop, and they need to in order to check the quality and also to solidify their existing process. And so with this quality insurance taken into account, you reach about 55% productivity improvement. So this is just a kind of a first estimate of what can you expect, and then you need to adapt this to each and every use case because they can be quite different. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, second question was, can you tell us the key criteria to select an annotation partner?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, I mean, in order to have the best annotation possible, you need to have contextual knowledge about what you're doing. So, an annotation partner, which, for instance, you're a telecom provider, and you want to, detect objects on your towers, and you want to detect defects, and so, if we have an annotation partner who has worked in this field or who's experienced in telco, then this is interesting because we know that people will be receptive and they will understand the context much faster. A second aspect is the capability of the annotation partner. So are they able to source specialists, for instance, with a certain language, or maybe in pharma with a certain specialization like ophthalmology or things like this when you need advanced skills. Or maybe in finance, this could be different skills as well. Thirdly, do they have a professional and dedicated workforce with QA? So we emphasized during the presentation that we don't believe in crowdsourcing for annotation. I mean, because of the lack of, let's say, quality management, and we really want to rely on quality annotation partners. I think one of the annotation partner of KIDI Technology, which is our platform technology, GameAid, is here on the call. We believe in the work that you guys do. I mean, and we have multiple annotation partner to work with based on the use case need and the specialization needed. And then fourthly, there needs to be strong project management, and this is a collaboration between the client and the annotation partner, or ourselves on the behalf of the client and the annotation partner. And of course, the annotation partner needs to respect all the data security, CSR process, and have the right certification in order to perform the work.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a third question here in the chat box. Can we upload existing gold standard labeled data into the system?
Yeah, so yes, of course, you can do that. This is you can, I mean, you can upload any type of data and models that you have, so that basically we will ask the annotator to label against this gold standard, and then we will measure the let's say the variation, and we have KPIs for this. So that we can perform the right level of correction if needed to ensure they are annotating correctly. And if they're not annotating correctly enough, then we would, change the annotator and to make sure that the quality can be maintained at a high standard as well.
If I can add something, yes, because everything can be connected using APIs, and all the metadata are in a JSON file. So if you're able to convert your existing data into a JSON with this information, the ground truth, so they call the standard, that's no problem. So then you can use directly the API and send the JSON with all the information.
Thank you, Gloria.
So the fourth question, is it possible to use only the part of the solution provided? I start again. Is it only possible to use part of the solution provided by Atos, namely just the annotation tool to manage annotations?
Yes, of course. So we provide an end-to-end, so we can cover all of your needs. But we have some customers that need just the annotation platform, and then we basically help you train, install, provide a knowledge transfer for your for you to get up to speed with this annotation platform. So this is absolutely possible. If you need just annotation, we can also help you with your annotation strategy and your annotation execution. if you need, so any of these pieces you can select, and we see different scenarios with different customers. So it's really flexible based on your needs. What we see work best is when we create a partnership with a client, where we are able to basically complement their data science team and train them, introduce the new technologies to them, help them install the solution on their technological stack on premise or in the cloud. And rather than we're not really into just selling the platform and then not forgetting it, right? There's a whole package behind it with a success manager, with SLAs, with support, but we can absolutely do that. And we do that with Kili, which is our partner for the technology, and we're distributors in Switzerland and beyond within Atos.
Okay, so here's another question. Is there a demo version that we can try for a limited time?
Yes, absolutely. So what we can do is we can share the link with you after this call, so you can try. It's limited in terms of number of licenses, but just send us an email with your request, and we will provide. And I think you can find your email on the second slide of the presentation. So this is not an issue.
Okay, thank you. So it seems that there are no more questions in the chat box. Then I would like to take the opportunity to thank our speakers and of course you for your participation and your interest. You will receive an email from us tomorrow with the links to the presentation and the recording. And now I wish you a successful day and say goodbye to all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.